Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Pears on a Pod. Yes, no, this show hasn't been cancelled. It's actually still here. It's alive, and I still have my co-host with me, big-headed Jack Hudson. Hello, Huddo.
Hey mate, good to see you again. Keen to get back stuck into it, so very excited.
It's been a while, but we
Mm.
do have a very special guest today. It's a premiership player. It's a big ruckman. It's a bloke that absolutely smashed into Clark Keating on 2004. I'm talking about Dean Brogan. Brogues, welcome to the pod.
I've heard a lot about this pod, so about time you got me on, boys.
God, I'm a little bit frightened about this because intrigued. We've had a few guests that have had a few stories about you, so I'm very excited to see what you've got about them. But we'll talk quickly about the Clark Keating contest just off the top. A little birdie told me that you had some choice words for him after you shoved him to the ground too. What'd you say to him?
Yeah, look, it's interesting that you guys picked up on that. It was definitely a planned tactic. The story, how it goes is Damien Hardwick came up to me in the chain, like literally a minute before we ran out and grabbed me and like literally looked me straight in the eye and was basically almost headbutting me saying, that first centre bounce, you jump past the ball and you jump straight into him, put your knee to his throat and let him know that he is in for one hell of a day.
Beautiful.
And the reason why was because when Brisbane had won 3 in a row, Clark Keating, their ruckman absolutely had field days on grand final day by punching the ball forward. And we identified that week that it was going to be a key matchup that if I could at least nullify that a little bit with Lady, it'd go a long way to helping us win. And Harvey just thought, and I'll never forget it. The way he said it, it really got me fired up. And then the first centre bounce, it actually went perfect. It was the best bounce you've ever seen. Went absolutely perfect. Not like how they do it today, where they always call it back. This one was a beauty, and I literally I was staring at him before it was before the circle, right? So you used to have like a Dennis Lilly run-up sort of thing. And I was just standing there and all I could do was looking at him and I was pointing at him and I was that fired up. And as soon as that, the siren went and the umpire went to bounce that ball, I just went straight for the jugular and I got him perfect. And when I stood over him, I said, are you allowed to swear on this pod?
Yeah. We'll censor if we need to.
I said, you're in for one fucking hell of a day. You're not going to do what you did the last 3 years to us, you fucking asshole. Like, I said more than that, and it just sort of, look, I don't know. I actually gave a free kick away, as you know, and they had a solid goal, so the day could have gone very pear-shaped from the start. But luckily, Ackermanis missed, and they didn't keep going the first 2 minutes from my free kick. So it was a planned tactic, and not many people know that that's actually what happened at the start of the game because there's so much else happened in the game. But that was actually like a clear plan from Hardwick to me, but no one else knew about it. So. Even to this day, when I do see Hart Dimmer and catch up, we always talk about it. So yeah, it's funny how that picks out.
You look at the replay. I don't know if you looked at the ball.
I didn't. I went straight past the ball. It was just. God knows what Choco and that were thinking in the coach's box. Like we've just made a grand final after the hard 8 years before, and there I am, just gone straight past the ball, and given a free kick away in the first 10 seconds. So. Choco always used to be on to me about my free kicks as well because I played pretty aggressive and I gave away a lot of free kicks. So yeah, I guess it was meant to be. If Ackermanis kicks that goal, I'm not sure how the day would have gone. So we got away with it. Yeah, and Keating, he's a great player and he ended up having a pretty okay game. But I thought in his last grand finals, he wasn't having 35 hit outs and knocking the ball forward to Black and Ackermanis and Voss, like we were able to nullify that, myself and Lady. So hopefully it helped on the day. Obviously it did 20 years later.
Obviously now, 20 years later, what have you been up to? What's been going on in your life post footy? And I think it's been nearly 9 years now, 10 years now, something like that since previously playing. So what's been going on?
Yeah, so look, I retired, as we know, from Port in 2011 and went to the Giants. Played, should have only really played one more year, but managed to play another 2 years and get into coaching and move that was really fun until 2017. Then moved back to Adelaide to, head up an IT sort of managed service business, which is really left field because I know nothing about any of that. But, I got into some connections in Sydney, and we become very good friends as the CEO of a company, and he wanted to open up a branch in Adelaide, and I just thought, stuff it, I'll give it a go, and so it started off just selling printers and computer hardware and things like that, and now 5 years on, or almost 6 years on now, we anything that plugs into a wall for a business, we manage it or sell it, and we got over 70 staff now. So it started with me in a front room at a rental property in Goodwood when I first moved back, and then the business has just grown. We're a big national company, and I'm the branch manager of that now. So I've learned a few things along the way with IT, but look, in any business, it's about service and how you look after people and accounts and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm doing now for my 9 to 5 job, and I'm assistant coach at South Adelaide in the SANFL. I coach the midfield and the rucks down there, and I do a little bit of ABC on the weekend for the AFL, and I'm quite busy this time of year, and I like to still dip my toe in footy a little bit, but as far as the AFL coaching stuff, that's gone now. I don't think I could go back into it. So I love sitting at home and watching it, and love watching our Port Adelaide boys going around at the moment.
Going very well. We'll travel back like before we hit Port, 36ers. So obviously going to the AIS and then coming under Phil Smythe. What was that like for you?
Yeah, look, it was all I wanted to do growing up was be a 36er. Like my sister, we're a basketball family. My sister, who's 5 years older than me, she was a very successful basketballer and made it at a really young age. And I just remember growing up, we were in basketball stadiums, and we used to go to Apollo Stadium and watch the Sixers, and then the Powerhouse, and they were my idols, and all I wanted to do, I was a hooper. I hooped every day, before lunch, after school. So I played basketball. That was my number one sport. And I just played footy because most of the kids in my neighbourhood and at school played footy. So I just played that because everyone else was playing it, And so then when I grew up, I went to the AIS, and then 2 years, I was all I wanted to do, like I said, all I wanted to do was be a sixer, and I was lucky enough to get a 1 year contract with the 36ers, and that's when Phil Smythe replaced Mike Dunlap. So it was a new regime, so to speak, and it was just like a dream come true, and then moved back to Adelaide, and then look, I was really lucky. Like the Sixers were really bad the year before, and that's why Mike Dunlap, got fired, and they had to make a clean out, and Phil Smythe came in and basically said, we've got this guy called Martin Catalini, but he's got 1 year to go on his contract, and we think you're going to be better than him, and you could be starting, and it's a really big future for it. And I'm like, how good's this, And then when we got there, they've gone out and gotten Scotty Innes back, and John Willie, and Kevin Brooks, and Darnell Me, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden, we were really good. We were really good straight away, and I found myself not getting much court time there, so that was hard because I was a young kid in a hurry, and I didn't understand being patient. And Martin Catalini became this Australian player and unbelievable player. So it was a dream come true, but it was also a very frustrating year for me because I came back with high hopes of playing and starting, and it just didn't pan out like that. But looking back on it now, I was lucky enough just to be a part of that team, and I was lucky enough to win a championship, and the rest is history with Phil Smythe's tenure. He was a great coach and had a great team, and I was only there for 1 year, but I remember that year, even though we just had a 25-year anniversary for that 97 or 98 championship, whatever that was, and I remember that year more than some of my footy years. Really, it was so much fun. Playing in the NBL back in the 90s was the thing to do, and I was lucky enough to do it with the Sixers. And so I lived out a dream at a really young age.
There were some good stories, I think, that came out of that as well. I think there was one at training I did get told about the other day. Is
Yeah.
it true about one where you had to hit 10 free throws in a row to leave?
Yeah. So yes, this is true. So yeah, well, what was the story? You tell me the story again.
Yeah, so you had to hit 10 free throws. Like, so there was two different training sessions,
Yeah.
and you had to hit 10 free throws in a row to leave the first one, and then you were still there at the start of the second.
Yeah, yeah. So look, shooting wasn't my I'll give an honest analogy of my basketball game. I was, and I'm not being big headed here. I was a really good player, but I
Mm.
wasn't the greatest shooter. So I could rebound, dribble, pass, defend, and I was quick, agile. But shooting was just something that wasn't my strength. And so, and I worked really hard on it, when I was at the six, and they were shooters, right? Brett Maher's probably the greatest shooter,
Mm.
in the NBL. Catalini could shoot, Darnell Mee could shoot, Kevin Brooks could shoot, then John Milley could shoot, Rupert Satwell could shoot, and then Mark Davis started hitting threes. And so we had a really good shooting team. So we used to have these shooting drills. If you make 20, you move on, or you make 10, you
Mm.
move on. And I seem to have struggled more than so one day, and I just couldn't 10 in a row. And by the training had finished and everyone had moved on to the second, everyone had sort of finished their shooting drills and moved on to second, third, fourth drills, and I was still on the first one. So, I wasn't happy about it either. So I let everyone know how fuck life is and all that sort of shit, and how poor I am and poor me. But yeah, it's bit and I was an 18, 19-year-old kid, so I hung a bit of shit on me, the boys. But yeah, look, it was some good times. And one thing about the basketball days is those NBL boys didn't miss you. Like, I know footy, there's a lot of banter and you have a lot of
Mm.
fun. Those basketball boys were ruthless
Oh,
on
yeah.
if you couldn't do something, they'd let you know about it. So yeah, there's a lot of stories out there about me and my shooting, especially about so I'm
Who,
sorry, Marzi, I'm not the best shooter in Australia. Like, what do you mean? You keep
who,
comparing me to Brett Maher, right? That's not fair. But no, it was all good fun. It was all good fun.
who was the best chirper on the team at the
Oh,
Sixers?
look, John really, they all got on the lip, and it was all like John really. Brett, don't worry about Marzi. He gave a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of trash talk. Like, it was unbelievable the trash talk they used to talk amongst themselves, really, because we used to scrimmage a lot, like 5-on-5, and the amount of shit talk that was going on. And then even in games, they just talked so much shit, and but they could back it up. But yeah, Marzi and probably John really, and it was just relentless, absolutely good fun, though. Good fun.
There was a move to the Newcastle Falcons next.
Yeah, so look, as I said before previously, I was a kid in a hurry, and I had a coach at the AS that was coaching up at Newcastle, and he sort of knew I was a bit frustrated, and we just won the championship, so and the team hadn't changed. And Phil said, "Look, it's going to be hard for you next year to get court time as well." So I Newcastle called and offered me a 3-year deal and said, "Look, you'll be starting," and all this sort of stuff. So I took it. I took the opportunity, moved up there. Again, didn't sort of pan out. The North Melbourne Giants were in the NBL the year before, and they folded. So we've got Pat Reedy, who was playing for Australia at the time, who played my spot, and they
Oh,
recruited him.
jeez.
So I've literally signed a 3-year deal, thinking I'm going to be the starting 3-man, or small forward, and they signed basically Pat Reedy the day I get there. So again, I was sort of pushed to the bench, but I was in the rotations. I was playing a little bit more, but that year went okay, but then Newcastle folded after that year. So then the NBL started to really decline in terms
Mm.
of sponsorship and things like that. So, and then after that first year, they basically folded, and I came back to Adelaide and didn't really know what I was doing. And I rang Phil Smythe, and he said, the roster, we've got our roster, mate. He goes, you can come and train with us, but you're better than that. You should try and get a gig somewhere, and so I was a bit in the wilderness with it all. So the year at Newcastle, it was good fun, and I was looking to really settle in there and start my basketball career, but it just got sort of taken away from me, and I was a bit disillusioned with basketball altogether. And I came back to Adelaide and started to really assess what I was going to do next.
So, and then Smythe introduced you to Choco.
Yeah, so further that conversation, Phil Smythe and Choco lived next door to each other in Glenelg, and I don't know how the conversation went, but they were talking about basketballers, could they make good footballers? And this was in 1998 or 9. They all do it now, but back then no one was switching codes or coming from different sports, And Phil Smythe said, like they're good athletes, they're great athletes. You could definitely turn them into, ruckmans or something like that. So he goes, mate, you should bring this kid called Dean Brogan. He's back in Adelaide. I know he's played a bit of footy. Should give him a call. So Choco went and spoke to the recruiting guy, Alan Stewart, at Port Adelaide. They actually had come and watched me play. I played South Adelaide Juniors. Alan Stewart had actually had me on his radar to watch as a junior. And I obviously gave it away and played basketball. So I sort of, I was gone. But he actually went back into his files and went, Dean Brogan, I've heard of that name. He actually watched me come out and I kicked 8 in an under-17s game.
No worries.
Adelaide against Glenelg, and I was like right on his draft board for another 2 years that this kid might be okay. So as soon as he heard that, he gave me a phone. He called me straight away and said, look, we heard you're not happy with basketball and you might want to play footy again. Would you be interested in coming down for a bit of a kick and a catch with Choco and our skills coach, which was Jeff Morris at the time? I said, yeah, no worries. So, and that's how it all sort of snowballed. But it didn't go exactly to plan. Like they wanted me to not, so they wanted me to, they wanted to hide me because it was only like round, it was pretty fresh into the footy season back in 99, I think. So it was like round 6 or 7. And they said, look, let's do some secret sessions with you and we'll put you on our rookie list at the end of the year. And I said, oh, okay. And I went and thought about it and thought, you know what, if I'm going to change careers and codes and sports, I want to start playing the game and work out if I love it. I don't want to do something if I don't, enjoy it. So I went back to the South and I ended up playing reserves in a few league games that year. So and loved it, completely loved it. Right, this is what I want to do. And Port Adelaide said, well, once you show yourself to the rest of the AFL world, you might have other clubs come and get you. So good luck. If you're still there, rookie or the draft, a rookie will take you. But if not, have fun, good luck. So that's how it all happened. And, funnily enough, I played 7 or 8 reserves games and 4 or 5 league games and didn't really set the world on fire, but I showed something. And Adelaide Crows actually invited me to train. So
jeez.
On draft day, I didn't get drafted, and then the rookie draft started. And then now the rookie draft happens real quick after draft, but back in the day, they used to have the national draft, and then it'd be like 2 months before the rookie draft. It was
weird.
So clubs would invite kids down to train. So Adelaide rang me straight after the national draft and said, look, we want you to come down tomorrow and start training, and we will put you on our rookie list. So I said, yeah, done. I'll be there. So then an hour later, Port Adelaide rang and said, look, we really want to get you down to training tomorrow. No guarantees. And I said, look, you wouldn't believe it. I just got the phone to the Adelaide Crows and they want me to go down there. And Alan Stewart said, righto. He goes, this will be your mistake. And I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I've just told him.
Jesus.
I went down to Adelaide, did a week of preseason training there. That was when Gary Ayres was there. And I broke down with Achilles tendonitis, and they basically said, look, you're not for us. This is a mistake. You're better off going back to basketball or back to South Adelaide. So they pretty much booted me.
Jesus.
So then, it's a bit of a story. But anyway, then the next day after that happened, Alan Stewart rang me again. He goes, I heard what happened in Adelaide. He goes, I told you that would happen going to that club. I said, look, mate, this is all new to me. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. He said, look, we're prepared to give you another go. You got to come down and meet Mark Williams tomorrow and apologise to him. Firstly, why you went to Adelaide, and tell him how much you want to play at Port Adelaide. So I'm
what?
Like, this is just crazy. And I didn't know really Choco that well, so I did a bit of homework on it, and I was like, fuck, I've got to apologise to this guy tomorrow. Anyway, I get to Albert and walk in, and he's standing there, and he's just looking at me. I've got hi, Mark, Dean Brogan, and he goes, why'd you go to that club down the road? We hate them. And I said, Choco, I'm new to this. I don't understand what's going on. I said, I just want to play footy. I understand I probably should have come here in the first place. He goes, we hate them. And if you ever get to play for this club, we hate that footy club. So I said, mate, I'm really sorry. And he said, put your gear on and start training. So, and that's how my Port Adelaide career started, you know. So it's a bit of it's a long-winded story, but it's that's how it all panned out. It was crazy how it all happened. And it happened like within 2 weeks. It was just nuts.
It's crazy that story you'd eventually win a showdown medal.
Well, and this is the thing, right? So everyone goes, you know, I really I hated Adelaide at the time for what they did, but I also appreciated what they did because it gave me more motivation to prove them wrong, right? So every time I played Adelaide, I just always wanted to smash them, beat them, and be the best player I could. And everyone goes, you played pretty. You know, I thought I played well in lots of showdowns and really got fired up. That had a massive reason for it, because they fucked me over, but they also made me appreciate what I wanted to do as well.
Yeah, you ended up being picked 26 in that draft too, to Port Adelaide. How was your first training, like with the boys and everything? How was it actually being an officially Port Adelaide player?
Yeah, look, it was a little bit surreal. Like, just even coming back from a different sport, like the culture's different, the people are different, the training's different. Everything was just all over the place. And, one thing about the Port crew back then, they were so, like, the players were so nice. And so, my 2 weeks at Adelaide was really daunting. They'd come off a couple of flags and they weren't the most warmest, inviting club. It was as we know, Adelaide sit on their high horse a little bit. Like a privilege to go there, whereas Port were just open arms, Darren Mead, Peter Burgoyne, Bowen Lockwood, Danny Morton. Oh, there's so many. Roger James, Dewey, like, all those boys were so nice. Jared Schofield, who I'm really good friends with still now, just made you feel so welcome, and they tried to help you. It was awesome. There was a respect thing. I was a rookie, so I was treated accordingly. But at the same time, it was a warmer environment than Adelaide. It was a tough environment, but it was a respect environment. But it was. They gave you a cuddle, like Michael Wilson and that. They come up, shake your hand, make sure you're okay, but then they move on, So, yeah.
And then you spent your first year playing back in the sample, trying to readjust. Like, was it tough to sort of like take like going? I was top level sort of basketball, and then I'm playing at SANFL.
Yeah, mate, it was a massive reality check. My body was struggling the first year, just because I went straight into the ruck and started playing. So, 6 months ago, I'm playing NBL. Now I'm starting ruck in the SANFL for South Adelaide. So it took a good year to understand the game and get my body right. And then the next pre-season, they rookied me again, Port, and that's when things started to click a little bit. Like, I started to feel a bit stronger, understand the game a bit more, get through more trainings, understand where ruckman's meant to go, understand footy a little bit more. And that was in year 2001, I started to play really well and in the SANFL, and I debuted in 2001 through injury. So Primus did his knee, Brendan Lade and Barnaby French had broken legs. Kane Ackland was injured, so I was like fifth cab off the rank.
Fifth man up.
Yeah, fifth man up. And I'd been playing okay in the SANFL, and Choco just said, "You're playing this week," and that was round 8 or 7 in 2001 against Jeff White, who was an All-Australian the year before.
Shit.
So I debuted relatively quickly, So, and then I only played 5 games that year, but then once I got the taste, that was it. It was game over. I just locked in and tried to be the best player I could be. But it wasn't until 2003 where I felt like I belonged. So that's a good 4 years from getting rookie listed. 4 years of 3 or 4 pre-seasons, and I think I had my breakout year in 2003. So. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to, fork out, punch out 170 odd games. So yeah, but it was a tough start. Fifth cab off the rank going against. But I did my apprenticeship, right? So I was going against Primus, Slade, French. I had to really earn my stripes against those boys because they were super competitive, and there was no love lost there when we were doing ruck drills one-on-one. So I was built for that. I'm a competitive person, and I think if I got it given to me, like I didn't get that given to me. I had to really earn that, and there were some tough times, but I got through it, and I'm really grateful for being in that position.
And you kicked the goal, so I bet you're like, yeah, guess we can score now, Marzi.
First goal. Yeah, couldn't have scripted the debut any better. So yeah, crazy. Now that I'm talking about it, you actually go, shit. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy 4 or 5 years. That time of my life.
It was a win too, I think.
Yeah, it was. Definitely was. Yeah. Yeah.
Then we go to 03, and you're playing like nearly every game, basically every game.
Yeah.
And you're getting Brownlow votes. Like you got to think back and go, shit, this is unreal.
Yeah, well, look. To be honest with you, boys, I thought I was in the All Australian squad at the end of the year. I actually thought, looking back on my career, I probably should have made All Australian that year. I think I played every game but one. And, statistically, I was one of the best ruckmen in the league. And I think because I hadn't, there's like this pecking order with All Australian back then. You had to have played a certain amount of games and have a bit of a reputation. Michael Gardner got it from West Coast, and he'd only played like 12 games or something. So a lot of the boys in the team were saying, mate, you're going to make All Australian this year. And I'm like, oh, shit, how good's that? And I was in the squad, but I didn't make the 22. So, that's cool. But I had a really good preseason that year before. They moved Barnaby French on. Maddie was injured. Lady was injured again, and like I remember Chocka just saying, "You're going to be the number one. I need you to lock in and get fit and strong because you're going to have a big workload next year. You and Maddie are going to hold up because that's when you play two rucks.
Yeah.
You and Maddie are going to take us to winning a flag. So." Yeah, I had a really good preseason. I had a breakout year, and yeah, it was just fun. Like that era was just so much fun. I was really lucky, like playing in a team like that. And we just failed. I think in 2003 we got to play Sydney. We finished top and playing Sydney that first week. I come up against this guy called Adam Goods, who had just won a Brownlow, and it's really when I realised. We got beaten, and Goodsy smashed me in that first final, and it made me realise I got a lot to learn because he was really crafty. He played a few more games than me, so I was really raw that year. But we had a good year, and I had a really good year personally, and that sort of kick-started the next 4 or 5 years for me.
Yeah, 2004 we entered two. Just like we all know the year as a whole, but for you personally, just from round one, smashing the Bombers all the way through to that first qualifying final against the Cats, was there always a sense of it's going to finally happen, or wasn't it until the day you actually realised that this was the year?
Oh, we came into 2004 where we knew this was probably the last time that we'll have this group together, and this is our last go at it. We'd been there 3 years before, prelims and finals, and it's well documented how we went. Choco laid out the table first day of pre-season. He said, "This is it, boys." We moved on Nick Stevens, Brent Guerrera, who were in our 22 all year the year before, but they just did some things that they shouldn't have, and we just got rid of all that. And I just remember all of us having meetings going, "Boys, we need to lock in, like, just whatever you're doing, whatever you did last pre-season, we got to be 10% better. We got to do this, we got to do that." And I just remember us having all those sort of meetings, and all of us had the best pre-season we've ever had. And all we talked about was winning a flag. Like, that's all. Every meeting was all like winning the flag, win the flag. And, everyone says week to week, but we knew we would probably finish top 4. We just said, look, we didn't finish top. We just need to get there, and we'll win it. I think the year we just always had in our head, we're going to make the grand final, like whether we win it or not. And then when we got to the end of the year, we were just so locked in that there was some nervousness, but we all knew that we'll be right. And then, we get to that, we come out and beat Geelong in that final series, and there was no sense of arrogance or anything. We just need to keep playing. And it's hard now because it was 20 years ago, but I remember that prelim, that first 10, 15 minutes, we were really nervous. Yeah, that game sticks in my head more than any other game. Like we were in trouble. We were very nervous, very edgy, because there was so much pressure on us. And we sort of knew if we can get past the prelim, we would win it because we knew we could beat Brisbane. But prelim was the hardest game. Prelim to this day is still the hardest game that you will ever play. It's the hardest game. The pressure, because if you win a prelim, at least you get to a grand final when you know. But if you lose a prelim, you just never know. So the prelims are the hardest game. So we knew when we beat St Kilda on that prelim night, we knew we would win the next week. We just knew it. With the confidence we had, we just knew we'd win.
Second to last goal of the game for us as well, Brogues. Do you remember it?
You get St Kilda?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a free kick. Yeah. In the pretty much in the goal square. Talk about having nervous shots. That was like whenever they often show that game on Fox, and I love watching that game. It's one of the best games. I'd almost go far to say it was better than the week after, to be honest, because the way we celebrated that prelim win was like we were crying and carrying on because we just knew, But talk about pressure like that. Yeah, you sort of miss that feeling a little bit now, but yeah, and I actually played all right in that game, so I was pretty happy with myself.
That's always what matters.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you look at those games of footy, and they're just like the footy today. It's unbelievable, as we know. It's so athletic and fast, and athletes all over the ground. But you watch that footy back then, and geez, it was hard. It was so hard. Like it's contested. You're playing against Harvey, Hayes. Young Rewalt. Fraser Garrick. Like that. They're not athletes. They're animals. So.
Especially G Train at that year.
Really good time.
Yeah, what was that?
Mate, if you hadn't kicked his 100th that night, mate, we would have lost.
No, I was about to say.
Can you believe that?
What was the moment like?
What was that moment surreal, because we were in trouble. We were in serious trouble. And Garrick's kicked his 100th, and it's like God just said, "You are not losing this game. I'm going to make." Who kicks their 100th in a prelim on an away ground? He's got full control of the game. It's like a timeout in basketball. We needed that so bad, and we had to reset. And I remember just standing on the ground, and everyone's looking at us going, "Fuck, boys, get your shit together. Look, what are we doing?" And it was just a settler. When finally they got everyone off the ground, like, can you believe that actually happened? It's crazy.
I think Robert Wall says in the commentary, it was like the Saints fans must have rocks in their heads because they have had all the momentum.
They fucked it. They had so much momentum. Garrett was going to kick 10 that night, and we were going to lose by 10 goals. It's just funny how things happen, huh? Like that's probably happened 3 or 4 times in the modern era. Like Franklin twice. I just don't know when else that's happened. I think Modro once. Like, what are the chances of that happening? It's just nuts.
Oh, God. Thank God he did.
Thank fuck it happened.
Yeah, that was wild. And then building into, like, launching from that. And then I think we kicked the next 2 or 3 after the moment. And then everything just settled. Yeah. Played perfectly.
Yeah, everything settled. Like, yeah, you're correct. We kicked the goal straight after that. And I remember you could just tell everyone was back playing, reasonable footy. And, a lot of boys didn't play well that night. And, we were really lucky to get over the line that night. But, that's what happens in finals. Not everyone kind of plays well, But, Wanganeen, I remember Wanganeen had like 2 possessions at half time. I remember Choco going off his brain at half time, just going, "You're embarrassing your wife, your family. What are you doing? You're Gavin Wanganeen." Like, use more choice words than that. And then Gav comes out and kicks 2 of the best goals you'll ever see. Like,
yeah,
just crazy stories everywhere that night. Roger James, I mean, his first quarter, like no one was touching it, and he's just an animal, just incredible storylines through the whole night. You know, Sean Burgon's dive at the end, and
Oof.
just crazy prelim stuff. You know.
Crazy prelim stuff. That's good. I think Gav said.
Yeah.
I think when he came on the pod, I think he said the first one was. I think you said he was the best one, Ed.
Yeah, the first one, because he just knew that he couldn't believe he kicked it that far, like 60 meters. I think it went straight over the goal umpire's hat from 50 out, and he's just like, I think that was better because I couldn't believe I kicked it.
And the other one, he just believed it.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's just great. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and look, all the Indigenous boys actually were really quiet that night. Like Pickett hardly touched it, Gav hardly touched it. Peter Burgoyne didn't play that well. You know, Shawnee was okay. You know, like it was just like to win a prelim without those boys playing well. You know, it was just crazy. You know, and we all know what they did the week after. Like they took over the game and won us the game. You know, so just cracy time, really crazy time.
So we've spoken about the ruck contest at the start. We've spoken about the ruck contest at the start of the grand final, but what were you thinking at half time? Brisbane stormed back in. They've got the lead, bit of momentum. But what was the thought?
Yeah. Look, I remember we were coming off the ground. As we know, it was a pretty tight sort of contest, and Brisbane were kind of a bit in control of the game. We were hanging in there. I remember in the change rooms, and Choco just yelled at us, said, "Boys, we've got them exactly where we want them. Exactly where we want them." And he goes, "This is how I planned this would go today. We've got exactly." They're fucked. He goes, they're coming off, they're cramping. Lynch has done his quad. Like, I'm telling you, boys, we are going to run over them. And the belief he gave us, because, you know, I think we're down by like 10 or 12 points or something, you know, and they'd won 3 in a row. You probably have every right to think you could be in a little bit of trouble, you know. And I'm sure a few of us were thinking that, like, shit, you know. But the way he sold us, I think it was his finest coaching moment. And then he strategically hadn't put Peter Burgoyne in the midfield because he knew if we were there close enough at quarter time, we had more runners than them that he could swing into the midfield and around the place. So he changed a few things around and he just knew in his head, I'll put Peter Burgoyne on ball, I'll put Jared Schofield on, I'll make, you know, I think he put Sean Burgoyne to Ackermanis. He did 3 or 4 things that they just didn't have an answer for, because they were seeing things. Because I've coached, you do see things in the coach's box. When you're playing, you obviously can't see it, but they would have seen in the coach's box. They've got 2 injuries. We're beating him in contested ball. We're doing this. We're doing that. That's all they've got. But we've got this to throw. They've got nothing else, you know. So he made those changes, and you know we just ran away with it in the second half. And you know, pretty much with 15 minutes to go, the game was over. And you know, the belief he gave us at half time was just incredible. You know, that's something we'll always remember, every one of us.
And then obviously half time we come out, we end up leading at 3/4 time, and everything's looking like it's going the way it should. When was the moment for you that you knew we had it pretty much won?
Yeah, so there was this big roar. So I think, you know, when I think Kingsley kicks a goal and we run back to the centre square, and you could just sense, but you just never know. Like, you just never know. You're playing Brisbane, but I knew when you could hear the roar from the crowd when Choco was walking down, that's when you knew, like, completely knew, you know. And I'll just never forget that roar. You know, we all know he did that with the thing and with his tie, and that's when we all knew it was over, you know. And it was pretty cool because there was still 2 or 3 minutes to go. So you're actually on the field knowing that you're about to win a grand final, you know, and that's a feeling that, you know, that's a feeling that you can never replicate, you know, and I'll never tell any, you know, only you guys on the field would know that, you know. And I've played in a bad one too, so trust me. I knew at quarter time we weren't going to win one. So,
we'll get to that and make it as quick as possible.
Oh shit! But yeah, and it was an enjoyable 2-3 minutes. And I remember Justin Lepich, I was standing next to him, and we shook hands, and he said, "Well done, you guys deserve it." And that was really nice, when that was like 2 minutes to go. So you're just running around, just going, fuck, hurry up, blow the siren, So it was pretty cool.
And then the few years afterwards, like obviously went out in the finals against the Crows in 05, missed 06, and then 07. So what? Like obviously a bit of a lift switch, and then we've got this crew of youngsters that are about to fly through and take us through to a grand final.
Yeah, look, it's sort of, we had a couple of lean years after, even though we made the finals the year after, because we were group, we were sort of rejuvenating, and then we sort of hit our straps again in 07, and we were really lucky to sort of the draw sort of panned out for us towards the end of the season. We beat Geelong in Geelong, and then we beat West Coast we beat Geelong in Geelong, and then the week after we had West Coast who'd won the flag the year before. They had Judd, Cousins, all that sort of stuff, and all the West Coast. We caught West Coast at a really bad time with all the Cousins stuff, and just Judd was injured. They had injuries everywhere, and we got through them. And then we played North Melbourne, that first week, and North Melbourne had just scraped it. I think there were a few bad teams in 07, to be honest with you. And we beat North Melbourne in the sorry.
It was in the prelim, yeah.
Sorry, we played West Coast. Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, and we got them at a bad time. We beat them, right, and then we went straight to the prelim against North Melbourne, and we won by like 90 points, right? Treaders is bowing to the crowd, and we're like, are we really going to win another flag? Like, fuck, and because it come from nowhere. So that feeling was a bit different to 04. Like, it felt like we were lucky to be there, but we'll take it, and we probably didn't handle that. I mean, when you win a prelim by 90 points, you've probably got every right to think you're going to go pretty well the week after. But I guess where the group was at, it just didn't feel right. That week just didn't feel right. And, I've been pretty outspoken about this, that it just felt a little bit off, compared to, felt like we weren't the hunters that, like, the couple of years before, there'd been so much pain and so much that we were so locked in. Whereas that 07, because it happened just from nowhere, it just didn't feel right. It didn't mean I think we were going to get done by 100-something points, but it just didn't feel right. And even with our meetings, that whole week, you trained really bad. I remember Choco was doing so much media, really, really having cracks at Geelong that they haven't and putting all the pressure on them. And I remember saying to a couple of boys, this just doesn't feel right. And we had such a young group, Westhoff, Salopek, Bokey, Pettigrew, like Chaplin. This is a big deal, like, are these kids ready? I barely knew them, but, I haven't been to war with these boys, whereas, I've been to war with a lot of those boys. I knew what they would do in the moment, whereas this group I wasn't sure about. And, we all know how it turned out, how it panned out. And, talk about some highs and lows in footies. That destroyed our group and our club for a long time, that grand final. Really did. A lot of boys didn't recover and didn't have successful careers after that because they didn't deal with, getting embarrassed on the national stage. It was sort of not spoken about. Really bad time. And look, to be honest with you, I thought until Kenny came on board, I think the club really, really went backwards after 07. They just didn't recover. We just did not recover. So for whatever reason, but that no doubt had a massive reason to it.
Yeah, that off season. What was it like? Like coming back in first preseason after that, that 07 granny. Was the feeling a bit of still embarrassment, or was it just we just got to move on?
Well, mate, it was weird. Like, we just didn't talk about it. I think the coaching staff and the club thought we'd just move on. Like, which I guess at the time they thought was probably the best thing to do, but. I remember sitting in meetings going, are we going to watch the tape? Are we going to debrief? Are we going to go through anything? Like, how are we going to move on from this? Because I'd been around with Cassis and Treaders and,
Mm.
we had some discussions around it, but I think the general thought was, let's just move on and get on with it. And I'm like, yeah, look, I don't know about that. And I still remember, me and Dom talk about it still, it was weird. And we had shocking years after that. So it definitely affected the younger guys on how to deal with, how do you, when you lose, that hurts, and it'll hurt everyone in different ways. So I think not addressing it probably hurt the group. It was just like nothing had ever happened. It was really strange. It was really strange. So I think if everyone had their time again, we'd obviously handle it a lot differently. But I mean, what do you do when you've been belted by 110 points? You can look at it two ways. We had a really bad day, but our group's good. We made a grand final. Let's be happy with that. I was more the other way. No. We can't. You don't lose ever a game by that, let alone a grand final. This is going to hurt. You're always going to be labelled with that. These kids are always going to be labelled. You played in I was lucky. I played in one that won, so people remember me for that more than 07, But anyway, yeah, it was a strange feeling, and the next 5 years after that was a horrible time for horrible.
What was it like? 2010, Choco's leaving, like clubs in a bit of all sorts, really losing streak.
Yeah.
What was it like sort of that week when Choco left?
Yeah, it was really, really dark time for the club. The club was just struggling, off the field. That we had the tarps, and the club was. All we heard was how bad the club going financially. I think the leadership had changed. The old Port Adelaide, board and all that had gone, and this new business group had come in, and they were challenging Choco a lot, and Choco was really struggling with it. And we could see he was struggling because he was coaching differently. He was getting more personal with the players, and it was just a really bad time. And it was probably not handled right, And then, all of a sudden, Choco's sort of gone, and Matty takes over. And look, to be honest with you, it was an awful time, a really awful time. And to the point where you don't want to play footy anymore. You're only playing, dare I say it, for the money. You're not. It was just a really awful time. I remember we all dipped in, paid the club money. We gave some money back because all we kept hearing about is how broke the club is, and there's no way clubs would do that to their players now. It was badly run from top to bottom through that era, and. Yeah, it was challenging times, and myself and Dom ended up being captain, and Sean Burgoyne left, and Peter had retired, and Kari had gone, and it was just, it was so much going on. And then my last couple of years at Port were not enjoyable at all, and it's a shame, but that's how footy goes. I was lucky at the start, to have that success, and I was happy to leave, so to speak. I was happy to leave in 2011 because those, that 2009, 10, 11 years were just awful, So yeah, that's how it sort of, I got my whole tenure at Port Adelaide. I got the highs and the lows. So you could say it wasn't. I was well rounded at that club, so to speak.
Roller coaster.
That last game at the Adelaide Oval against Melbourne ended up winning. We speak about we see what West Coast is happening with them today, and they're getting pumped week to week. Obviously, 2 weeks prior, pumped against the Pies, and then the Hawks at the G. To come to the new-ish Adelaide Oval at the time, what was that final day like for you?
Oh mate, look, and you talk about the highs and lows of footy. I was really lucky because the club obviously was getting belted. Chad Corns last game at Port Adelaide lost in the wet by 100-something points. I was that lucky enough that I did my calf. I've been out for 10 weeks. I just couldn't get my calf right. And Matty said to me about a month there, he goes, look, just get yourself right for the last game. We're playing at Adelaide Oval. I'll put you in. We're playing Melbourne. It'll be an unbelievable way to go out. And I said, mate, thank you. Awesome. So I just got myself right. Mate, that last game was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just to get a taste of what Adelaide Oval was going to be like was packed. I had all my family there. It was a beautiful sunny day. had my daughter there. It was just a really special day, and we got the win. And not everyone gets a send off like that. And now you look back at it and go, like, fucking, how lucky was I? Like, how lucky have I been? Yeah, there were some shit times towards the end, but I still got a good send off, a good pat on the back, and good. Yeah, it was just amazing. I look at my great mate Chad, who went 2 weeks before. He didn't get that, and he was a way better player than me. And I was lucky enough to get that fairy tale send off. So yeah, that's right up there in my memory bank. Yeah, right up there.
So, and then moving to the Giants, obviously a whole new project, and then you talk about the highs and lows, especially with Port Adelaide. You probably played a part in assisting the reset when playing against them and beating them. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, well, it just kept coming, didn't it? Like, Port, we played Port, and all me and Chad wanted to do was beat them, and when we beat them, it didn't feel that good because we knew that Matty was probably going to lose his job, and we could see how devastated the players were on the ground. They were broken, right? And because we love Port Adelaide so much, I remember getting interviewed after that game on the Oval, and I'm saying, and they go, "Oh, it must be good beating your club." And I actually said, "No, it doesn't feel that good." And because I just knew what those boys were going back to in Adelaide and what their week would be like. And it felt awful. And I remember Chad was thinking the same. And we went out with a couple of the boys that night, and they were broken players, like completely broken. And we knew Matty has just lost his job probably, and he got the sack that week. It felt bad to be a part of that, like be responsible, not solely responsible, but we definitely played a part in that, and we didn't feel good about that at all. And look, things happen for a reason, mate. The club had to really bottom out, so it's shit what happened to Matty, but it wasn't. Again, we just couldn't get rid of our past, so to speak, with Port and the way we left. There was more damage to be done, but. Yeah, it was an awful time, but it was good for the Giants to, and for us to beat our old club. But yeah, the aftermath of that, it didn't sit well with us at all.
Huddo, we got anything else, or are we going to go on the segment?
I was going to go one more question regarding that. So, obviously, the off season, everything changes with Port, and you play them again in round 2. How different was it?
So when I came here to play him.
So when you came back to play him in round 2. Under Ken.
It was awesome. I loved it. And that was when Ken's first year. I was feeling because Chad was injured and he couldn't play, and he was devastated that he couldn't play. And I was lucky enough to play. That was a surreal moment, running out Amy Stadium against Port Adelaide. Yeah, it was weird, completely weird. And we actually played okay, and Port sort of got us in the end, but it was a great experience because when I went to the Giants, my dream, all I want to do was play Port or Adelaide back in Adelaide, and I got to do that. I got to do that. I played Adelaide in Adelaide the year before, and I got to play Port at Amy Stadium, and I remember the crowd were just awesome. It was just an awesome night, and that's when Port got going again. I remember saying to Chad after that game, I said, "Man, that was a decent crowd." I said, "Why didn't they come when we were here the last few years?" So they just started to get going again. Ken's first year, and they had a really good year that year. So that made us happy in a sense. But it was good to come back and play Port at Amy Stadium. What a stadium that was too, by the way.
Footy park at the time.
Yeah.
But looking back over it all now, like how nuts is it to see where the club is in terms of off field? Not even on field at the moment.
What they've been able to do since moving to Adelaide Oval is just been remarkable. To see where the club was when I left to where they are now, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And you can say what you want about Ken, but he's done an unbelievable job for 11 years. He hasn't won a flag, but you know how hard it is to win a flag? It's fucking hard. Very fucking hard. Just to make prelims is hard. So they've done an unbelievable job. What they're doing now is just incredible. To win 11 in a row in this modern age game is insane. It's insane, and they are a joy to watch. It makes you feel very proud that you're associated with that club in a small way. So yeah, I just can't wait for the next 8 weeks, because I really do think that this is different compared to last year's. The last teams that Kent's had to get to a prelim, this team's different. They've got some serious talent that can kick the ball through that midfield, which they've never had. And this is why they're destroying teams by foot, because they're tough, So they're a lot sharper than what we were in 04, that's for sure. So
That's good to hear.
I think they're definitely a chance, 100% chance this year. Yeah.
Beautiful. And let's get into the segments, eh?
Yeah, let's do it. You want to do random port match? You want to do Big Brother?
Big Brother first up, mate.
This is Big Brother.
Big Brother. All right, Brokes, we're going to do Big Brother. This is where we talk about some of the stories you might have had over pre-season or footy trips or anything that might have been a good story to tell. And it could be a little bit explicit. It's completely up to you. We don't care. It's all good. But if you got any stories from footy trip, we'd love to hear about it.
Just think, boys. Just little things like, we used to do this thing called the 100 Club. You got to drink 100 shots of beer in like an hour. And we would do them so we're in Cairns. So we beat this nice hotel with a restaurant, and we'd all meet down at happy hour, which would be like 4:00. So like these people were having dinner, and there'd be 30 of us like sitting around a table having 100 shots of beer, and you weren't allowed to leave to go to the toilet, or if you weren't allowed to leave. The minute you got up and left to go to the toilet or do anything, you'd be out of the game. So we'd have sitting there, and it doesn't sound like much, 100 shot of beers, but after about the 30th one, you start to want to go to the toilet, or you feel like throwing up. So we'd all be throwing up and pissing all where people were eating, and and the amount of complaints that we would get.
Oh, no.
No, I won't say names, but it's just little things like that. Footy trips are completely wild. I'm just trying to think, boys.
Was there one involving you and a maybe something about the footy trip money and something about a penthouse and rocking up early?
One year we did all this. We had this like footy trip committee club, and I was the CEO of that, and we just get Guernsey signed, and this is when you could just do shit like this, and I thought I'd share it, so I had. I kept all the money and everything, so I organised all the trip, and so we get to the hotel. I've got the penthouse up the stairs, and all the boys have got the rooms downstairs. So I've gone left, they've gone right, and then I'm at the top of the balcony looking at the boys over the penthouse, and I've gone, how do you get that? And I was like, well, I don't know how it works.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Just shit like that. And we used to say, like, Peter Rode was our footy director, footy manager, and we always used to say, don't worry, boys, this one's on roadie, but I kept control of the credit card, and I always used to say, boys, there's no more money left. So then I go down and buy all these drinks and go back up to my room, shit like that. So,
oh, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, little things like that. But no, that's. I mean, they're just trying to think, man. They've been so long. I mean, when we won the grand final, that was pretty crazy. I remember with Roger James, we'd been out all night, and we had the grand final parade the next day, and myself and Roger, and I think Kari was with us too. We were just walking down King William Road, and the sun's coming up. I'm like, boys, we're going to be at the grand final parade in like an hour and a half. and Kari was so sick. We're doing the lap around the city, and he's throwing up in the car, and just shit like that. Just crazy, yeah, like. But no, good times.
That's very good. Very good, Ant. Very good, Big Brother.
Yeah, we wanted to clean that up with the penthouse. We've had that story riding.
Yeah. It still gets talked about today. Whenever we catch up, the boys still bring that shit up. It's funny.
And random port merch, I reckon.
All right, we're going to do random port merch. This is where we showcase some of the most random port merch we have in our household. And Huddo, I want to see what you've got, because last time you had a duck.
Yeah, no duck this time. So I've gone back into the Guernsey cupboard. I found an old training top. Oh shit! My screen's blurry. It looked absolutely terrible. That old one, I think might have been 2015, yeah, 2016.
No.
But yeah,
Power Rangers.
Oh,
fucking
Renault,
God,
yeah.
21 on the back for Jared Polek, which
Jared
there you go.
Pollock. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
ugly.
There's
I'm
a
going to go and get mine. Hang on one sec.
yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
Oh.
yes.
This is my last Guernsey that I wore for Port.
Oh
Look at
shit.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
so this is
soaring
Adelaide
securities.
Guernsey. So yeah, I found this not that long ago. It's even got Grippo on it.
I was gonna say it looks like Grippo.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm so
nice.
stoked I found that. I didn't know I had that, and it just popped up because I've moved a lot and I've lost a lot of shit. But that one I've been able to keep, which is cool.
Yeah, the last one.
I forgot about the securing securities. The background gone. So the top search on Google for soaring securities is who the fuck is soaring securities?
It's
From a
like
big
my
footy trend.
ATM, right? My
Yeah.
ATM. This board have had some funny sponsorships through the years.
Out. Yeah, they went out of business in 2013. So yeah, very well done. Ant, what have you got, mate?
Oh, well, I thought I haven't brought this one out, and nor have I tried to try it on because I think it's a training bra on me at the moment.
Excuse me.
The 04 premiership top,
Yes.
and it's got Stewie Jew on the back.
Stewie G. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
wow.
signatures. A lot of signatures.
We've got Brendan Lade, Brogues is on there.
There you go. You're on there, Brokes. Nice.
I was busy that. Busy. They must have been busy that day.
There was a few people busy, let me tell you. Actually, speaking of Guernseys, and before Huddo asked this question, 2009,
The Dolphin Guernsey.
the white Guernsey
Oh,
with the colour.
Jesus.
It was a beautiful Guernsey, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. We've had some interesting ones, yeah. But they wore that like back in the day apparently. So yeah, it was a heritage round. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. There you go. Now, Rogues, young, was it about 11-year-old Huddo here, made a Guernsey as part of an assignment. Now, I want you to tell me, shit or not, yes or no, what do you think?
Oh Jesus Christ! Interesting.
There's a lot of shit going on here, so yeah, found that not so long ago. What are your thoughts
Not
on?
as bad as that. Remember that lightning bolt Guernsey that we wore, the white one,
With the green
white
back.
socks. Oh my God, that was horrific. Whoever okayed that is no longer working at the club. Let me tell you. You know what's funny, right? Just quickly, we had all these interesting Guernseys, right? But the Guernsey that they roll around with now, you know, a young girl designed that. She's
Yeah.
like 12, yeah. Like, so they've all these people that are employed, marketing people and that. A 12-year-old girl designed the Guernsey. It's hilarious. But yeah, we had some shockers over the years. Don't worry about that.
Yes. Bloody earth. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, there's been some interesting ones. And
All right, that's funny. Let's go into
Quick
quick
fire.
fire question, Brogues.
Yeah.
This is where we just fire some stuff. You let us know your first thought, and we'll see
Sure.
where we go. The last question, FYI, the most controversial you'll ever been asked. Like, you've done a lot of media every time, everything like that. This is the most controversial. So when we get to it, be prepared.
Right.
Start with your favourite TV show at the moment.
Ted Lasso.
oh,
Yeah, beautiful. Very nice.
Yep.
Your favourite flavour potato chip?
Salt vinegar.
Beautiful.
yes, very good.
Your go-to karaoke song?
Oh man, I've done karaoke for years. Oh, probably horses.
Yep, reliable drunk favourite.
Yeah.
Your go-to Mario Kart character?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't think of it right now, but yeah, I'll probably Mario or Luigi, I think. But there's other characters too, isn't there? I've played that for years, boys. Jesus.
Diving into nostalgia, Brokes.
Yeah.
And lastly, this is the one. This is the most important one. Brogues, what is your favourite flavour of shapes?
The chicken ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Is that you
Brokes.
too?
Yes.
Whatever. My partner buys them sometimes for my daughter, but they don't get that far.
In the shopping on the way home, you're straight
Yeah.
into
I might leave her four, and that's it.
it. Yes. Oh, thank you, Brogues. It makes me very happy.
No, good work.
Yeah, no, we should have cancelled. That's
Uh,
terrible. No,
all right.
that's okay. I'll cop that one.
Oh, jeez.
Stumped me. Anyway, let's go into obscure port players. This is where we list just a bunch of port players that played 100 games, and we'll go around the room. Brogues, you can kick us off. What's obscure port player you've got?
Oh, Tom Logan. Have you had Tom Logan on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an absolute superstar, that bloke.
Oh, love Tommy. Yeah. You got a good Tommy story for us, Brogues?
Oh, mate, I can't. So many. He's a good man. We keep in touch a lot, and we're trying to catch up more. And yeah, he's a good man, Tommy. T-shirts, Tommy. Yeah.
T-shirts, Tommy.
I bumped into him at the casino earlier this year, actually, Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
After we beat Brisbane.
He would have been nice and fresh.
Yeah, he was in fine form.
Huddo, what's yours?
I've got Scott Bassett.
Scotty Bassett.
Yep. 30 games, 3 goals.
Saw him the other day, actually. He was at Norwood. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Fella, Scotty. I was really good. He was back in the day. I used to hang out with him a lot. He's a good fella.
Nice, that's good. Very good.
Bassett.
Scotty Bassett. Yeah. Ended up at the Bulldogs, but won't hold that against him.
I'm going to go with Luke Peel.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He did not play a single game.
Really? He was a high draft pick, I think.
Yeah, relatively high, I think.
Peel,
Second, third round.
I remember him.
Yeah, that was a throwback. That's on the poster there. That's why I'd pick that one.
Yeah. I remember that poster. Yeah. We've all got white hair. We used to dye our hair white back then.
Oh, that's good.
Just before we finish up, Brogues, I just want to ask about Choco in general. Obviously inducted into the Australian Rules Hall of Fame. Just an overall, your time with him, and just a bit of background. Like, how was he for you? Just as a whole.
He was really, really hard coach, like really old school. Like that for that era, perfect. I don't think the way he was back then, if he was now, he wouldn't last. Because as we know, the players today want to cuddle first before you can say anything to them. So, but he unbelievable teacher of the game, and that speaks for itself with all the players that have come out and coaching and teaches the game the right way. But he was really hard. But if you earn his respect by doing what he wanted you to do, he'd love you. He'd wrap your arms around you, and look what he's done for the game, and what he did for us, just incredible. At the time you don't really appreciate it, but now that we're a bit older and we look back, and we're really, really lucky to be under his regime. And he's still fighting the fight. He's still in Melbourne. He's looking after all their development, and he's just a born footy, genius, and he's unbelievable. I just wish we could have won more for him, and for the club. But unbelievable man. And he's adapted. Like, he's softer now, and that's what happens when you get older. But he adapted. When he went to the Giants, he adapted, and when he left the Giants, he adapted again, and now he's still in the system. And he'd be 60, mid-60s, maybe even 70 now. Still in today's modern game and having a massive influence. So it's he's just a remarkable man, and unbelievable achievement getting the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, beautifully said.
Any final words, Huddo?
Just one last question, Brogues. You hear about the question, who was your hardest opponent? Who was your easiest opponent?
Easiest opponent.
Shit. Mate, your eyes used to light up whenever the number one ruckman was out and you get the backup. You get the bunny. Look, you get a forward that's playing in the ruck for the day. I couldn't name one off the top of my head, but there's a guy called Jonathan Griffin who played for the Crows. I had some really good games on him. So whenever he was playing, I used to go, "Well, yeah, she's on today," But they were all hard, mate. They were all hard,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when you get the second bunny, you always used to go well, So and then back then, every team did have two rucks, and there'd be someone not as good as the first one, So
Oh, that's sensational.
Oh, I love that.
Brilliant, Brogues. Thank you so
All right,
much for
boys.
coming on. Really
Well,
appreciate it.
I'm going to go help coach an amateur side now.
That's absolutely fair. Thank you so
I'm
much,
gonna go
mate.
train.
It's going to go train. I've got to go be a dad. So we've all got things to do. Thank you so much,
boys.
Brogues.
No worries.
Thanks, Brogues. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. See you, boys. Bye-bye. Bye.